Hi, my name is Birgitta Jonsdottir, and I am a member of the Icelandic Parliament for the Pirate Party currently. I am a poetician and an activist in Parliament. I had a strange story on how I got into being this servitude. I never had the intention of being a politician, and I still don't. I have been inside the parliament for 4.5 years. I've never had a job this long for anybody. and I was Iceland's first woman to go into web development in '95. And I also got this crazy idea. I get crazy visions. So in '95, I wanted to do Iceland's first web broadcast. With video and sound, and the technology didn't really exist, and I don't really know how I got this idea, but we managed to do it. We crashed a lot of servers around the world in '96, but it was an incredible experience to be a part of the internet culture back in these days, because it felt sort of like we were shaping an entirely new world. And what sort of happened to me back then was that I completely fell in love with the internet. It completely transformed my life. And I wouldn't be who I am if that world hadn't opened to me and I got to share knowledge, share experience, and live stories with so many people from around the world that I would never have had an opportunity to get to work with. And it was actually the reason why I felt so impressed by the internet and the culture there was because I felt that this community could actually improve our offline world. And I still feel that way. And that's why I have felt compelled to go inside the system to defend this world I love so much. Because like we heard in the talk by Jeremy, which was really putting us in place and calling us to arms. And I really feel compelled to say that there are, even if it feels sort of hopeless at times, and sometimes I feel like, shit, we're sort of losing it. I feel whenever I get an opportunity to go to places like this, which happens quite regularly, I feel that it regenerates my knowledge and insight that we can do this. But we have to do certain things. It is not going to just happen unless we apply ourselves on all different fronts. And I've chosen to go inside the belly of the beast. I have chosen to go inside the system with the mentality of the hacker and try to crack the code in how our systems works, and then share that knowledge with the rest of you so that we can actually break it down like Smári was talking about in his talk. Because, to be honest, I'm a pragmatic anarchist, and many of my friends from my activist background thought I'd gone nuts to go inside the system. But I feel that in order to change anything, you have to understand how it works. And I have actually learned so much in these 4 years. I originally went in there, helped create a movement that was simply called the movement, because we had something that we're all experiencing now on different levels. We had a really proper juicy crisis in Iceland. And we had the 3rd largest financial collapse in the history of humankind. And I knew that that would create that window that we always need in order to generate change. And you don't usually get people to go protest unless it's affecting them directly or demand change. So there were these demands for very fundamental changes in Iceland, one of which was to have a new constitution from scratch. And we did a beautiful process after the elections where my political movement, which was created 8 weeks prior to elections, with no money and no, thank thank God, no professional politicians got 7.2% of the vote. So there was this process that started after the collapse of more demands of co-creating our realities, of more accessibility to those that we choose to represent us, and this demand for making a new social agreement on what sort of society we wanted to be. And that process was one of these processes that made me the most proud to be a part of my culture in the offline world. And it reminded me so much of the culture in the online world, whereas we have been sharing knowledge, experience, and moving our societies forward for a long time. But while I was in there, I did a few things that were quite controversial. I started to volunteer for WikiLeaks. I helped co-produce a video that is called Collateral Murder. I was a target of the US government, and I think I still am, where they basically had access to all my personal data on Twitter, Google, Facebook, Skype, whatever, you know, these companies on the slide that Snowden provided to us. And I really encourage you to. I am definitely, even if Facebook is one of these platforms I use a lot as a representative, I am going to get off it because I'm just so disgusted by the way that company behaves. I think that I encourage all of you to do the same, and I encourage all of you to, I'm getting off all Google-related stuff. It's very complicated, like Jeremy explained last night. But we should all participate in decentralizing the internet, and we can do that together. And there have been many solutions that have been talked about here tonight, and I think it's important that we actually do that, each and every one of us. And nobody else is going to do it for you. While I was in Parliament, I did a few neat things, and I actually had a workshop in the Icelandic Parliament introducing a new set of laws that has been known as the IMMI, the Icelandic Modern Media Initiative, where we wanted to take freedom of information, expression and speech into the 21st century in a sort of a legal package and make a safe haven for freedom of information, expression and speech in Iceland, but also as to create a model for other countries to use. I worked with people that might be known to you guys, like Julian Assange, Rob Gongheb, and many others, and Jacob Appelbaum, and Daniel Smith. At the time, he was that. He's now Dom Sedberg. And I actually had a workshop with these guys in the Icelandic Parliament for the Icelandic parliamentarians. So it just goes to show that anything is possible. And actually, I managed to get this piece of parliamentary proposal through the parliament with a unanimous vote. And it is quite radical put together, but it's all common sense laws. And it's being worked on in the ministry, and the new government has pledged to carry on working on making these laws. It's about whistleblowing, source protection, freedom of information, the protection of our historical records, and the list goes on. And of course, Maura McCarthy, who was speaking earlier, was a very important piece of this group of geeks that worked this out together. And I also did some fun stuff I had a seat in the NATO Parliamentary Assembly. I completely trust the report that was done in my committee on cyber crime and how to sort of draw the line or make a line where a cyber crime can justify an offline war response. And I really encourage you to look into what NATO is up to these days. And of course, I had my WikiLeaks sticker on my computer and encouraged them to use the Afghan war logs, because the importance of these leaks that we've been seeing is that I, as a representative, have now access to the information that's necessary for me to make informed decisions as a representative. And so the reason why I'm telling you these stories is that if and I was quite controversial before I got into parliament, got re-elected after doing all this stuff and also ratting on my colleagues in the parliament and the stuff they were up to, anybody can, seriously. So there's another reason why I feel it is important to tell you that anybody can get in. And that is because I really want you guys to understand how important it is to get people inside the parliaments, inside the system, that love the internet and that understand how it works. Because having been an activist on the outside and always knocking on the doors and maybe getting a meeting with some parliamentarian after 2 months, I can corner the ministers off in the cafeteria. It's very neat. And they can't escape from me. And I can inspire them to do the right stuff immediately. There is no delay. And we, as we've heard tonight, we don't have a lot of time. And one of the most effective tools right now that we can use is to get, for example, pirates into the parliaments, and we really, really, really need to get pirates into the EU Parliament, because as independent nations, it's very difficult to influence the lawmaking process there. It is a lot easier to inform you what you need to do if you're inside. And so we need to have this balance between the inside and the outside. And once people are inside the parliaments, you have to work closely with them, and they have to work closely with the grassroots. For me, this is one of the important tools. But it is important that we do not spend too much time on, policy and, trying to make ourselves legit by having all these stupid bylaws. We should be spending time on solutions and real lawmaking, because when there are proper crises, the people that we are dealing with, like the people that made the Patriot Act, they were all ready. They had a huge set of laws ready when the crisis hit. So we need to do the same things. We have to be ready. And we need to actually make it work with all these brilliant lawyers that are willing to be a part of our battleship. We need to utilize each and every one of us, because we all can work together. I come from this geek background, but I'm also a poet and an activist. And I think most of us have many hats. And so how can we utilize the most our sort of strengths, and how can we work with each other? And I think the only reason we got into parliament originally in Iceland 4 years ago was because we understood what were the most fundamental things to change first. So I want you to think, and I want you to go back home tonight after you've done all your dancing, or while you're dancing, and think about what are the most important things that we would need to change in our societies today. If I could change something today, what would it be? And then I want you to think, okay, so how would I like the world to be in 100 years? How would I like it to be in 50 years, in 20 years, in 10 years? Because we all know what's wrong, and we all know that our systems are broken. We know our representative governments aren't really representing us. We know that we sort of live in a world where there is a perfect marriage between the corporate and the state, and as individuals we might feel very powerless. But we are so powerful together. And if we together can actually make a vision on where we're heading, there is nothing stopping us. So I've heard about the technological solutions, and I pledge to do my part in it. And I pledge to make myself informed enough to change things on a daily basis, because I understand that there is not going to happen, there is no revolution going to happen except in our own hearts and in our own daily, day-to-day actions. It is not enough to have a revolution. We had a revolution in Iceland, And guess what? In April this year, okay, we elected 3 pirates, 5% to the pirates, but we elected the same fucking government that put us in this mess that led to the 3rd largest financial collapse 4 years ago. So, it is not enough to do revolutions. We have to create new systems. And if we don't do new systems, then we are going to eventually just finish this planet, and the nicest utopia is going to be to live on Mars. I mean, how unsexy is that? I think it is also important that we bear in mind that I have been experiencing, while talking to people all over the world, that a new system is emerging. And one of the new systems, and one of the reasons I decided to become a pirate and create a pirate party in Iceland was because we are inventing a new system to hold those that we elect to look after our interests accountable every day, not only every 4 years. And that is through the transferable voting system, or what has been nicknamed also as liquid feedback. We haven't really gotten through the system, the technological last final problem yet, but there are many good minds working on it. But it basically works. How many of you are aware of how liquid feedback works? Okay. So obviously I need to explain that. So I'm going to explain it in a very simple terms. So inside the Pirate Party in Iceland, we use this system, and we use it in such a way that, let's say, I trust Smári to know everything about transparency legislation, and I know that he is always keeping up to date with that sort of law. So I transfer my vote to him, and then Ásta, who is sitting here, she might also transfer her vote to him. And with me comes lots of votes, because lots of people trust me as well, maybe. And then he might choose to transfer his vote to Ola, who's sitting there, because he really trusts him in these issues, and he is really focusing on other issues that he wants to put his time into. And this is how we eventually can actually, one person can vote with 100 votes, and then there are other political parties in Iceland looking into using the same system, at least in the youth movements. And then the next aim is to move it up to the parliament itself. So let's say somebody trusts me for everything green, and I start to behave like a corporation has bought me. Then the people that trusted me can actually pull away my voting rights and give it to somebody that's behaving in a more trustworthy way. Now, can you imagine how much that would change our parliament? Can you imagine how much more interested we would be in co-creating our societies? Now, this is one solution. But in order for us to develop this solution and make it more sort of as a part of people's everyday daily lives, we need to get more people involved in participating in the pirate parties. And the pirate parties are actually, the pirate parties are the political arm of the internet. And it does not only consist of geeks, but it consists of people that are born and bred on the internet, and they love the way it has transformed our world. Now, there's another element when I talk about new systems, and the reason why I feel it is so important that we create new systems is that I witnessed when I got into the system, people that I had a lot of respect for, like the former Prime Minister in Iceland. I witnessed how she went inside the system. Does everybody know how potatoes work? Like, you put mother potato in the earth, and then you take it out, like get the new potatoes out, and you throw away the mother potato because it will destroy the little ones if you put it all together. Now, the system is like the mother potato. And then we throw all the new potatoes in it, and they all get spoiled. So it doesn't matter how great people we get inside the system, they're always going to get spoiled because the system is spoiled. So we have to urgently create new systems. And another thing that I find to be quite fascinating about the pirates is that and this is one of the things that actually got the Icelandic people to trust us, is that we're also thinking of new systems in other fields. And we're thinking of how we can actually make the laws fit into this reality. And I found that this is so shocking. Inside, and this is the only reason I decided to run again, is that I understood the hard way that there are no people there that have the same knowledge as you do. And so that's why you have to go in there. I don't care how you do it. And we also have to go into these institutions. I don't like NATO. I went in there to understand how it works and to advocate for more transparency and to tell the parliamentarians that they hold the power of how the money is spent in NATO. And so they should know how it's spent, because they don't know. And so I know I'm forgetting something that I had written on my notes. Yes. So we have to, more than anything, as has been spoken of tonight, create new legal standards. And they need to be simple. And they need to be done in such a way that we understand them. And we need to make laws that are upgradable. And when I say upgradable, is that the fact that most laws, like we have too many laws, just like from the film Brazil, when the guy is consumed by the papers, like was expressed earlier here tonight, is that I have to admit that after I became a lawmaker, I had very little respect for laws before. I don't have any respect for laws. Seriously. Because the laws are not made by us. And they're not made for us. And so let's say we want to co-create laws, it would be relatively messy. So when we co-created our constitution, we got to know what the spirit was of what people wanted in our society. And the same can be said, like if people say, okay, you can't co-create very complex legal situations. But that's not true. Laws should be exceptionally simple. And we should really think about the spirit of the laws, but not the letter of the law, because that's like Bible bashing. And then I want to say another thing, because I don't know how much time I've left. 8 minutes. Okay, so I know that there are quite a bit of people here from the European Union. And I know there's a lot of people that have been fighting with the monsters within the EU system. And it's very difficult to apply legal change within the European Union. And so what I've been able to do once I got into the Icelandic Parliament, and Iceland is sort of like a microcosmos of possibilities and a sort of a democracy laboratorium. We can do a lot of change there because we have very few people. We like 300,000. So the red tape is not as sticky and gooey. But I have been able to challenge and change and tell people about how the system works so that they can actually change it, and I've been able to hack into it quite a bit. And the culture inside the parliament is completely transformed. So the parliament has actually gained some of its power. Because the problem with lawmaking today is that the parliamentarians don't write it. And they're supposed to represent you. It's the lobbyists inside the ministries that write the law. And then we don't know how they write them and who is writing them. And that's why the banking sector managed to fuck us so very severely over all too recently, and is probably going to happen soon again, because they made the loopholes in the gray zone so that they could evade the laws. Now, if we can know who writes what, that would be very useful. And in the end, if we can instruct the parliament to actually write the down in a legal text what it is that you want, then we don't really need the ministries for anything except what they originally were intended for, to execute the law. So it's been completely reversed, and it's our responsibility to reverse it back. And then there is another element that I want to remind you about, and that is the fact that if you live in a democracy, you have to understand that if you really want to live in a real democracy, it is work. And it requires you to help co-create that democracy, because nobody else is going to know what you dream of. Nobody else is going to know what sort of society you want to live in, except yourself. And so, finally, before I go into Q&A, I want to stress that the only reason we are in this mess is because we stopped caring. And the only reason why we're in this mess is that we have allowed the systems in our world to grow so big that we feel completely powerless. And I remember I watched a video with John Lennon that he did around the time when him and Yoko did the project War is Over If You Want It. Most people didn't understand that it was like it was referring to us. And he said, people have forgotten that the government is them. And we have forgotten that the state is us. And the only way we're going to change this, is by becoming aware of that we are the state. It is not a separate entity, it is us. And so, I encourage you to just think about these things. I encourage you to do something in your daily lives, like I try to do. I don't do it perfectly, but I try every day to make myself aware that I can actually be an agent for change. And any one of you, every one of you can be the same. I am not special. Thank you very much. So I want to do I have a few minutes to get some questions. Do I have questions? Come on. You are insulting me. You don't have any question? Austa, please. Yes. Isn't it obvious? Pink. I have pink hair. No, it's actually the first time I wear pink. How can I continue to believe, well, nobody should be in the system for long, because it is the mother potato, remember. And while it is still a mother potato, you are going to get contaminated. And there is another very important element as well. You cannot take yourself very seriously once you're in there. And you can't take power seriously either. And you have to constantly be a bit cheeky about this task of being in there. But I firmly believe that nobody should be inside the same spot in the system for more than 8 years. I mean, I almost feel 4 years is enough. I'm just like, I have to admit, really questioning myself why I went back in, because like 4 years of the same thing is just gonna kill me. But yeah, no, but I have good people, and I have all of you, and I have people from everywhere in the world that are actually sharing with me good thoughts, actions, and good ideas. So that's very useful. Well, I helped create a pirate party. So her question was, don't you think it's important to stay longer in the system to get more people in? I believe in doing things quickly, and I'm very impatient. So, but I also believe in sharing your experience. So I'm sharing my experience with my fellow pirates in the Icelandic Parliament, and then I don't have to be there anymore because they have promised to carry on with that knowledge to the next generation of parliamentarians. There is absolutely no need for people to be for a long time inside the system unless they feel that they need to acquire power. And I'm not into that. So I'm gonna do like, go in bed as a geek. So if anybody has any questions, please join me.